Hello viewers, chessmates and checkmaters. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are playing our 5th chess match on chess.com. So far, the journey has been exciting. We've had some good wins, some close games, and plenty of lessons along the way. But chess is a game where every player eventually experiences defeat. Today turns out to be that day for me. Let's get into the match. I get the white pieces and begin with pawn e4. My opponent responds with pawn b6, choosing an uncommon setup. I develop my knight to f3, and he brings out his bishop to b7. I continue with knight c3, while my opponent starts an aggressive kingside pawn march with h5. I develop my bishop to c4, and he continues with h4. Already this is a very unusual position. Instead of fighting for the center immediately, my opponent is focusing on space and aggression on the king side. I bring my bishop back to b3 and he pushes h3. His pawns have come very far forward, and I'm trying to understand his plan while continuing my development. I place my rook on g1. My opponent pushes g5. This gives me a tactical opportunity, and I jump in with knight takes g5. He responds with e6. I continue with knight takes h3, grabbing another pawn. At this point, I'm feeling confident. I've won material and my pieces are active. However, confidence in chess can sometimes be dangerous because it can make you overlook your opponent's resources. My opponent pushes f5. I strengthen the center with d3. He captures in the center with f takes e4. I develop my bishop to g5 and he responds with bishop e7. I retreat my bishop to e3. And then he captures on d3. I recapture with my queen. My opponent pushes d5, opening the center. Now I decide to castle queenside. This feels like a strong decision because my king is moving away from the kingside action. My opponent pushes c5. I immediately become aggressive with queen g6 check. My opponent moves his king to d7. I continue applying pressure and bring my a-pawn forward. At this stage, I feel like I have the initiative. My queen is active, my bishops are developed, and my opponent's king has already moved. I reposition my queen and continue looking for attacking chances. My opponent pushes d4. I spot a tactical sequence. Bishop takes c6 with check. My opponent recaptures with his knight. I continue with bishop takes d4. He responds with c takes d4. The center opens completely, and now both of us must calculate carefully. I bring my knight to b5. My opponent returns his king to e8. I capture on d4 with my knight, but he captures my knight in return. I move my queen to f3 and continue searching for attacking opportunities. At this point, looking back, I think this was one of the most educational games I've played so far. Earlier in my chess journey, I focused mainly on attacking and winning pieces. In this game, I learned that chess is not just about attacking. It's also about understanding what your opponent wants to do and stopping it before it becomes dangerous. During the opening and early middle game, I genuinely believed I had the better position. My queen was active. My bishops were creating threats. My opponent's king looked exposed. But one mistake beginners often make is overestimating an attack. Just because you're attacking doesn't mean you're winning. A strong opponent can defend accurately and gradually turn the game around. That's exactly what starts happening here. My opponent places a rook on c8 and begins improving his pieces one by one. Instead of panicking, he calmly develops and coordinates everything. Meanwhile, I'm still searching for tactical opportunities. I move my queen again and continue looking for attacking ideas. My opponent improves his king position and starts bringing his pieces together. Then I find a move that looks promising. Knight to g5 with check. Unfortunately, my opponent simply captures the knight with his bishop. Suddenly, the attack I've been building starts disappearing. I continue pushing forward, hoping to keep the pressure alive, but my opponent has defended successfully. This is where the momentum of the game changes. One of the biggest lessons from this match is piece coordination. My pieces were active, but they weren't working together effectively. My queen was attacking on one side, while my other pieces were scattered around the board. My opponent's pieces, on the other hand, were supporting each other perfectly. His queen became active. His rook entered the game. His bishop controlled key diagonals. And slowly, his position became stronger move after move. As the game progresses, I start noticing that my king is becoming vulnerable. Instead of creating threats, I'm now responding to them. That's never a comfortable feeling in chess. When your opponent starts controlling the pace of the game, every move becomes more difficult. I continue trying to defend. My opponent launches his queen into my position. Checks begin appearing. I move my king. He improves his rook. I move another piece. He finds another threat. The initiative now completely belongs to black. At this stage, I realize another important lesson. Sometimes the best move isn't an attack. Sometimes the best move is simply improving your worst placed piece. Unfortunately, during this game, I continued looking for attacking opportunities long after the attack had ended. Instead of regrouping and strengthening my position, I kept searching for tactics that weren't there, that allowed my opponent to take over. The position becomes increasingly difficult. My king starts running out of safe squares. My rooks struggle to coordinate. My opponent's queen becomes extremely dangerous. One thing I admire about my opponent's play is patience. He never rushed. He defended when necessary, improved his pieces, waited for weaknesses, and then attacked at exactly the right moment. That patience is something every improving chess player should learn. Now we're entering the final phase of the game. As we enter the middle game, the position becomes much more tactical. Earlier, I felt like I had the initiative. My queen was active, my pieces were developed, and my opponent's king had already moved. Naturally, I started looking for attacking opportunities. I continue improving my pieces and searching for checks around the enemy king. At this stage, every move requires careful calculation because one mistake can completely change the evaluation of the game. My opponent responds calmly and doesn't panic under pressure. Instead of reacting emotionally to the attack, he keeps improving his position move by move. This is something I noticed only after reviewing the game. I managed to create some threats and even force my opponent to spend time defending. For a moment, it looks like I might be able to convert my activity into a winning attack. However, chess is a game of accuracy. One inaccurate move is often enough to let the opponent back into the game. As I continue searching for aggressive ideas, my opponent starts coordinating his pieces. His bishop becomes active, his queen finds useful squares, and his rook enters the game. Suddenly, the position doesn't feel as comfortable as it did a few moves ago. I decide to continue attacking instead of consolidating my position. Looking back, that may have been the turning point of the game. Sometimes in chess, when an attack slows down, the correct plan is to regroup and improve your pieces. Instead, I kept looking for tactical opportunities. My opponent takes advantage of this. He starts creating threats of his own. Now I find myself spending more time defending than attacking. The momentum of the game slowly shifts. One thing I've learned from this position is that having active pieces isn't enough. Those pieces must work together. Coordination is often more important than activity. As exchanges begin to happen, my attacking chances decrease while my opponent's counterplay increases. The board is opening up, and that favors the player with better piece coordination. At this moment, my opponent's pieces are simply working together better than mine. I still try to find opportunities and keep fighting because every chess game can change with a single mistake. But my opponent continues finding solid moves and refuses to give me easy chances. The position is becoming more difficult move after move, and I can feel that the game is slowly slipping away from me. Now the challenge is no longer finding a winning attack. The challenge is surviving the pressure and finding a way back into the game. At this point, the game has completely changed. A few moves ago, I was the one creating threats and putting pressure on my opponent. Now, the tables have turned. My opponent has managed to neutralize my attack and is beginning to take control of the position. I try to reorganize my pieces and look for counterplay, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. My opponent's pieces are much more coordinated, and every move he makes seems to come with a threat. One thing I noticed during the game is how important time and piece activity are. Even though the material on the board is still relatively balanced, the quality of the positions is very different. My pieces are defending, while his pieces are attacking. The pressure on my king is starting to increase. My safe squares are becoming limited, and I have to spend several moves dealing with immediate threats instead of improving my own position. Unfortunately, my opponent maintains complete control. His queen and rook become extremely active, and the attack continues to grow stronger. I can feel that the game is approaching its final phase, and now I need to find very accurate moves just to survive. The next few moves will decide the outcome of the match. My opponent's queen and rook work together beautifully. Checks begin coming one after another. I try to find safety. I try to find counterplay. But every move feels forced. My king has fewer and fewer escape squares. My opponent's pieces are dominating the board. The position is becoming critical. I continue fighting because in chess, there's always hope for a mistake from your opponent. But today, my opponent remains accurate. The queen enters deeper into my position. Another check. Then another. I try moving my king. I try reorganizing my pieces. But the pressure is relentless. Finally, my opponent plays queen d to check. I make my last move. And then comes the final blow. Queen d1 checkmate. The game is over. Result 0-1. This is my first loss on the channel. Of course, losing is never enjoyable. But every strong chess player has lost games. In fact, losses are often more valuable than wins because they show us exactly where we need to improve. Looking back at this game, the final checkmate wasn't caused by a single move. It was the result of several small mistakes throughout the game. I focused too much on attacking. I underestimated my opponent's defensive resources. I didn't coordinate my pieces well enough. And I allowed my opponent's pieces to become more active than mine. Those lessons will definitely help me in future matches. This may be my first loss on the channel, but it won't stop the journey. Every game is another opportunity to learn, improve, and become a stronger player. If you spotted any better moves for me, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your analysis. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching and supporting the journey. I'll see you in the next match. Until then, keep learning, keep improving, and keep playing chess. Let's go, guys. Let's end up the video here. See you in the next video. Bye.